Another commission lawsuit has been filed. Now, this time, Redfin is in the crosshairs. They're specifically looking at Redfin, and sure, they are also looking at the California Association of Realtors and, naturally, the National Association of Realtors, so NAR, which makes, I think, lawsuit 22 or 23 that NAR has been named. So we've covered NAR extensively. We've covered the commission lawsuits extensively, so this is going to be no different. This particular lawsuit is coming from the traditional home sellers. It's coming from California. This makes lawsuit number 3 coming out of California when it comes to commission lawsuits. But this time again, what makes it a little bit unique is the fact that they're only calling out Redfin. They're not calling out the other brokerages. Now, is that going to change in the future? Probably. Probably. You have a lot of agents, a lot of attorneys getting in on this, right? It's a piñata. They're just getting their beaks wet as soon as they see as soon as they start doing a little bit more homework and seeing how all these other lawsuits are being won. You can guarantee they're going to be amending their lawsuit and including as many brokerages as possible. But right now they are whacking at Redfin. So let's get into this. This article is courtesy of Inman.com. Check them out. Redfin is in the crosshairs as a new lawsuit targets buyer broker commissions. So let me see over here. Can you see this? Awesome. All right. So here's what we got. A California home seller has filed a third antitrust commission suit in the Golden State, but only on behalf of those who paid a buyer broker commission to Redfin. So typically you would have these types of lawsuits name anybody and everybody. It didn't even matter if the seller ever used the other brokerages that are implicated. So as an example, in this case, if they use Redfin, they would have no issue, or not if they did use Redfin, even though they just used Redfin, the home sellers that is, they would rope in as many brokerages as possible. They would bring in Coldwell Banker, Keller Williams, Real, Epic, EXP, Remax, Century 21, Home Services, everybody, right? So I think you get the point. Aliso Viejo, California resident Andrea Freeland filed a complaint on Monday, so this was just yesterday, seeking class action status on behalf of any Californian who paid a buyer broker commission directly or indirectly to Redfin, again, just Redfin, or a Redfin buyer agent involved with the sale of the residential property for basically, so 2020, 21, 22, 23, so 4 years from 2019 to 2023. Filed in the Central District of California, the lawsuit estimates a potential class size in the tens of thousands, so basically as many clients as Redfin has helped. The National Association of Realtors, California Realtors, and Redfin are defendants in this federal case. So as we mentioned at the beginning, we have Redfin at the crosshairs. They of course, they were going to add in the California Association of Realtors, and by rule, basically, they were going to add the National Association of Realtors. So at this point, NAR is a clear winner with 22, 23 lawsuits right now that are pending in relation to this commission suit. Now, Redfin, if you remember, Redfin last year, when all of this chaoticness was coming, all of this chaos was erupting from the NAR perspective, the sexual harassment scandal, the commission lawsuit, and their very poor defense in that. If I do say so myself, and among other challenges that NAR was facing at that time, if you remember, Redfin was actually one of the first brokerages, one of the first big players in the space saying, hey, we're done with you. We are leaving the National Association of Realtors, and we're not requiring any of our agents or brokers to be part of NAR if the MLS allows it. So if in many cases, you do have to be part of NAR in order to have access to the MLS, to the lockboxes, and all that fun stuff. So Redfin was giving them if you can get out and not associate yourself with NAR, we encourage that. So Redfin was actually the first major player that did that. So huge kudos to them. Well, yeah, I'll say huge kudos in the sense that it was a very bold move to make. And I understand, yeah, it was very, from a agent perspective, we don't really have all that favorable take, don't really have a favorable take when it comes to NAR. We think that we're getting, for the most part, and this is statistically proven, if you go back to previous videos, we statistically think that we're not getting our bang for our buck, especially here in the recent lawsuits that have happened in the lackluster defense that has happened. So I say kudos to Redfin for the sake of making such a monumental move. Not necessarily because I'm pro or against that, but it takes courage to do something of that magnitude at that point in time. So in a message to employees signed by 8 executives, Redfin CEO Glenn Kelman, I've seen several of his interviews, very articulate individual, super articulate, cited the 1.56 million member trade group's sexual harassment scandal and commission structure as the main reasons for the company's call for as many as 1,800 brokers and agents to cancel their membership immediately. So again, this was happening in October 2023. All right, so let's get into something that explains a little bit of the differences. We already covered it, but I think it's worth restating here. Both suits, so they're talking about a previous lawsuit that preceded the Freeland suit, was the Fiero suit, which is basically very similar, where you had a home seller that was seeking class action, except with the Fiero suit, as you see here, names a host of brokerages and other trade groups as defendants, while Freeland suit only referenced Redfin. They must really, the home sellers must really be on to something when it comes to Redfin, or that Redfin agent really must have done them dirty or something. They have a personal vendetta to only name Redfin. From the broker's perspective, the association, that's baked into the cake at this point. We know that they're going to include NAR, and for the most part, that they're going to rope in some other associations that are, that are a little bit bigger in size, if you will, or it makes sense. So the same way that the lawsuits here in Texas, where I'm at, they're going to include Texas associations as well. All right, so this is where they get into the complaint. What does the complaint even say? Very similar to all the other lawsuits. So these lawsuits are commonly known as copycat lawsuits, that basically they'll replicate or copycat all the same verbiage, all the same jargon that's being introduced in all the other states that have litigation, whether that's Texas, whether that's New York, whether that's Colorado, whether that's Arizona, all the states, Illinois quite a bit, of course, Missouri, the famous one. They're taking the verbiage and the same allegations, and they're just copying and pasting at this point, and bringing somebody that has been that has sold a property or has that has incurred an injury. That's a better way of saying it. How does that say? What's the correct way to say that? Basically, that somebody that there's some damages, somebody that was a party that was affected in this case. So that's what attorneys are looking for: someone that they can represent, that was affected, that was harmed, that was basically an injured party in this particular case or in this situation, so they can try to get class action suit. So that's what's happening all across the country. But the main thing is that they're alleging that defendants' illegal collusion has the inevitable effect of forcing home sellers, like plaintiff, to bear a cost, the buyer's side commissions, that in a competitive marketplace lacking defendants' collusion, there's that word, collusion, will be borne by the buyer, if at all, the complaint says. And it goes on to state something, it goes on to repeat itself, so we're not going to cover that. This is despite the fact that in the modern age of the internet, buyers' agents simply do not put much work to earn a commission. That's highly subjective. that's ouch. But of course, we'll complete that and put some color to that. Far less than the typical 2 to 3% of total sales price they earn under these unlawful agreements, such that the requirement of unilateral offers of cooperation is essentially a boondoggle for realtors who receive handsome compensation. They don't even use the word realtors the way that it's supposed to be used. That grows with the inexorbitant rise in the housing prices. For minimal effort, that shrinks as more and more realtor functions, such as showing a list of homes, are completed by buyers using technologies such as Zillow. So basically, because the technology has gotten better in their eyes, the value of the agent has gone down. Now, does that mean that the actual value of the agent has gone down? Is the value of an agent sending properties to the home buyer Is it? Is it not? Or is the value from the agent, from the negotiation, from the strategy, from the guidance, from avoiding pitfalls, for helping the buyer avoid any pitfalls? Where is the bulk of the value coming from the agent? If we wanted to, dissect it, if you will, right? So if we go from the attorney side, where we can pretty much say the same thing for the attorney profession. We can say the same thing for anything that has introduced technology. From the I grew up in a farm. From the farming perspective, well, we have tractors, and we've had tractors that drive themselves for years and years. Does that mean that the value and work of my dad and the farmers is worth any less? Well, I know it's a very weird analogy, if you will, but I'm looking at this whole, how much work is done or not done, or how much value is provided or not valued. At from day one, people have been able to I was about to say price shop, but from day one, people have been able to negotiate, and people have always been able to go to that next real estate agent. So this whole notion that the price has been fixed, or that we're being colluding, that they haven't been able to prove that, because that hasn't happened. You don't see a Gary Keller emailing a Glenn Sanford, so the CEO and founder of Keller Williams, emailing Glenn Sanford of EXP, hey, make sure that your agents are charging 3% for each or 6% for each listing. That just hasn't happened. So anyway, so here I don't necessarily think it's the strongest argument. I think it's more passion based than anything, than actual facts. But then if we go on to read what acts it violated, or what is actually being alleged here, the Freeland complaint, like the Fiero complaint. So again, that other complaint that was filed in California prior to Freeland, which a couple of weeks ago. So basically, they took that complaint, copied and pasted it, and then made the Freeland complaint. Should you discount your commission? Well, basically your commission. If you end up winning this suit, should you discount your compensation? Whoever is representing the Freeland complaint, because you basically took the exact same arguments that Fiero prior to you is making? Maybe. Alleges that the defendants violated the federal Sherman Antitrust Act, the California Cartwright Act, and the California Unfair Competition Law. The complaint demands a jury trial and seeks awards for damages, cost of the suit, and a permanent injunction invalidating the rules being challenged in the suit, and any agreement between NAR and CAR to agree to the rules. And the rest is essentially a message from the general counsel for California Association of Realtors. The NAR counsel has not, I really haven't even seen many responses from NAR's counsel altogether. We've talked about this in the past, that I'm a big fan of how Home Services of America, or Berkshire, is handling these suits. They seem to be the most proactive. Not just in the way that they're defending, but also in the court of public opinion, because they actually have a public opinion. So I haven't really seen that from NAR. I haven't seen that from other brokerages out there, or other associations altogether. So we're still waiting for Redfin to respond. We're still waiting for NAR to respond to this case. Will they ever? Probably not. But again, just all the lawsuits that we've been covering on this channel alone, we've covered over 15 lawsuits just on this channel alone. It's that common theme of Home Services of America. Home Services actually is bringing the most, I would say, at least it looks like they're doing something, if you will. It's not just a passive, just waiting for the mail to come and like, oh, another lawsuit. Okay, well, all right, we'll just add it to the stack. No, they're out there, and they're waiting for the mailman, and basically waving on the mailman, saying, nope, not here. So they're trying to be as proactive as you can be in situations like this. But anyway, let me know what you think. What do you think? Let's play state bingo. What state do you think is going to be next? Again, right now I think we're 22 or 23 lawsuits that have come up when it comes to the commission lawsuits. at least the ones that NAR is implicated in, which is basically all of them. So let me know what state is going to be next. We just finished California, and the video before this, I believe, was Arizona. If it wasn't Arizona, it was Nevada. But we're going to play that game. What state is going to be represented next? Let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll see you tomorrow.